Marshall Peak, Chapter 5884, Yin-Yang Rebellion, Marshall Peak. The entire chaotic dead territory seemed to have been drawn into the battle between two small stone races. Every once in a while, Yang Kai would run into a battle either in progress or already over. Something is obviously wrong. Even when Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan were keen on using the small stone race to determine who was the elder sibling, they had never expanded the scale of the battle to this extent. This kind of scale could no longer be called a game, but a true war. The number participating in this conflict was no less than the combined total of the human race and Black Ink clan. What's more, it had only been about 1,000 years since he last came here, so how could there be so many of them in the chaotic dead territory? Of course, theoretically speaking, it wouldn't be surprising for the small stone race to reach this population in 1,000 years with their outstanding reproductive ability as long as there were no restrictions and there were ample resources. Except, this was Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan's territory. They did not have any need to let the small stone race reproduce to this number. Most of these small stone race members were subpar. Their physique was extremely weak, making them even weaker than the Black Ink clan cannon fodder whose only role was to send themselves to their deaths to spread Black Ink strength. In terms of a contest, it was better to nurture more small stone race masters rather than spend energy to produce many insignificant small stone race soldiers. The scene here gave Yang Kai a sense of chaos, as if a massive number of small stone race members had lost control, turning chaotic dead territory's name into a reality. When this thought appeared, Yang Kai couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Logically speaking, the small stone race shouldn't have gone out of control with Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan here, but everything he had seen indicated otherwise. As he continued heading deeper into chaotic dead territory, he saw more and more small stone race members fighting each other. At one point, Yang Kai suddenly stopped and stared ahead with a look of surprise. Having reached his current cultivation, there weren't many things that could surprise him. Even if he were to face the Black Ink giant spirit god right now, he would still remain perfectly calm, but the sight before him gave him a strange feeling. He felt as if something had erupted in the depths of the void. 3 breaths later, a dazzling spot of light appeared in Yang Kai's field of vision. This point of light was undoubtedly far away, but because it was so bright, Yang Kai could see it clearly even from where he stood. When it first appeared, this speck of light was only the size of a needle tip, but it spread out at an indescribable speed. At the same time, extremely powerful energy fluctuations came with it. Yang Kai could faintly hear a clear bird cry like that of a phoenix. The sounds of birds' cries became clearer and multiplied every moment. Soon, the dazzling light filled Yang Kai's vision. When the light dissipated, what Yang Kai saw and heard left him dumbfounded. Much to his surprise, countless strange existences of varying sizes had appeared in the void, resembling phoenix, but a little different from those from the Phoenix clan. Yang Kai immediately recognized these strange existences. He had seen these things the first time he came to chaotic dead territory with RDA. They weren't living creatures, but rather masses of pure yin and yang energies, the manifestation of the burning light and serene glimmer's power. The orange-yellow creatures were the manifestation of energy leaking from burning light, while the blue-colored ones were the serene glimmer's power. Yin and yang were inherently opposites. When Yang Kai first came to the chaotic dead territory, these unique existences of different colors were fighting against each other just like the small stone race. The confrontation of these two pure opposing energies gave birth to large amounts of yellow and blue crystals, which allowed Yang Kai to reap great benefits. According to burning light and serene glimmer, they could not properly control their own strength once it was unleashed. So, from the day they were born, their powers had been constantly clashing with each other, and this was what Yang Kai was seeing right now. It was also because of this that the two supreme masters of the chaotic dead territory were unable to leave this place and help the human race. Once they left the chaotic dead territory and entered another great territory, that great territory would become a part of the chaotic dead territory. Back then, Yang Kai had thought that if one day the human race really couldn't hold on any longer, he would ask Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan to descend the mountain and wreak havoc. No matter how much these two destroyed, it would still be better than allowing the Black Ink clan to corrupt everything. Of course, the situation had not yet reached such a critical level. As existences whose strength wasn't inferior to that of a giant spirit god, it was quite strange that these two couldn't control their own strength. It wasn't until Yang Kai visited the divine spirit ancestral land and witnessed its complete history that this mystery was finally solved. It turned out the burning light and serene glimmer were incomplete existences. They had been separated from the primordial light, so although they had great strength, they were unable to perfectly control it as they were lacking certain pieces of their foundation. Even the big brother Huang and big sister Lan who Yang Kai interacted with were not their true forms, just avatars composed of their energy. From another point of view, they could be considered as manifestations of energy that they could control, so when Yang Kai came into contact with them, there was no danger. Zhong Ruo Shi's Heaven's Order bloodline was also incomplete. After the primordial light separated yin and yang from itself, it arrived at the divine spirit ancestral land where it dispersed itself and gave rise to many divine spirits. The final pure essence of the primordial light was what eventually became the Heaven's Order bloodline. This was also the reason why the Heaven's Order bloodline was able to restrain all divine spirits and even allow Zhong Ruo Shi to easily control the small stone race. Yang Kai had noticed this point, which was why he had brought Zhong Ruo Shi to the chaotic dead territory to meet Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan to cultivate. However, the clash between the yin and yang energies of the burning light and serene glimmer had reappeared for some unknown reason now. If nothing unexpected happened, these manifestations that looked like phoenixes were destined to battle each other to the death before transforming into yellow and blue crystals. However, the existence of the small stone race interfered with this end result. Yang Kai clearly saw that on a nearby battlefield, two small stone race armies happened to be engaged in a fierce battle, but the moment the yin and yang energies manifested, they all abandoned their respective opponents and pounced towards the yin and yang creatures. The small stone race had been raised by Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan using their own strength, so the yin and yang energies naturally had a fatal attraction to them. Under normal circumstances, an ordinary small stone race clansman was very small, only reaching an adult human's thigh in height, but they seemed to grow bigger and bigger as their strength increased. Be that as it may, they were still no bigger than ordinary humans before Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan began feeding them with their pure yin and yang energies. In the blink of an eye, the countless manifestations of yin and yang energies were surrounded by the small stone race, and even more small stone race members continued rushing over from afar to devour them. This scene resembled a swarm of ants covering a sweet and delicious meat bun. This was just the scenes Yang Kai could see, but considering how massive the pulse of light from before was, similar scenes must be happening all over the chaotic dead territory, out of Yang Kai's sight. Although the manifestations of yin and yang energies were essentially pieces of the burning light and serene glimmer and took the form of various monster beasts and creatures, they were not alive. As such, even though they were being devoured by countless small stone race members, they didn't utter a single wail or even struggled to break free, because the small stone race members that were devouring them were just like them in terms of yin and yang attributes. The Great Sun small stone race devoured the yang energy creatures, while the Great Moon small stone race devoured those made of yin energy. Yang Kai clearly saw a small stone race member in a certain location, who was originally equivalent to a peak 7th Order master, suddenly started radiating a yellow halo after devouring a large amount of yang energy. Immediately after, its body, which was already larger than the other small stone race members, began growing rapidly as its aura reached something equivalent to an 8th Order master. All the small stone race members who were ingesting yin and yang energies saw varying degrees of improvement. Yang Kai finally understood how this chaotic dead territory had so many small stone race members now. To the small stone race, the energy dispersing from burning light and serene glimmer was a great blessing. With such a massive amount of energy to use as food, the small stone race's reproduction was naturally smooth, and after many years of accumulation, it wasn't surprising for them to have reached such a massive number. The source of all this seemed to be deep in the distant void. Yang Kai turned his head to look in the direction where the explosion of light originated from. If he wasn't mistaken, the burning light and serene glimmer were there, because their energy was dispersing from that direction. What happened in the chaotic dead territory over the past 1,000 years? What are Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan up to? What about Ruo Shi? Suppressing the many doubts in his heart, Yang Kai took a step forward and manipulated space principles, dashing off towards the distant void to investigate. With a clear goal in mind, Yang Kai sped up and arrived at his destination after an incense stick worth of time. When he saw what was happening from afar, a furrow appeared on Yang Kai's brow. To his confusion, a giant oval-shaped object that looked like a condensed mist was occupying a vast amount of space. At first glance, it gave the impression of an egg. Through the thick fog, Yang Kai vaguely saw a familiar figure. It was none other than Zhong Ruo Shi, whom he had sent to this place many years ago. At this moment, Zhong Ruo Shi seemed to be sleeping in this egg, her small figure curled up into a ball. The fog made it impossible for Yang Kai to see her expression, but judging by her sleeping posture, it seemed like she was resting peacefully. What is this? Yang Kai frowned. Zhong Ruo Shi was here, but what about Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan? Looking around carefully, Yang Kai's heart suddenly jumped. The mist that had condensed into the shape of an egg was obviously filled with extremely rich and terrifying yin and yang energies. Also, two other blurry figures could be vaguely seen drifting through the mist. The yin and yang energies that were basically poles apart actually seemed to be merging together in this strange place. Yang Kai's brow slightly rose as he faintly understood what was going on, but this only made him happier rather than shocked. If he was right about what was happening, then the benefits Zhong Ruo Shi would obtain this time would not be small. The burning light and serene glimmer were in complete existence, while Zhong Ruo Shi's Heaven's Order bloodline was also incomplete, but her bloodline was the primary component of the primordial light which, in theory, should allow the opposing pure yin and yang energies to achieve a balance. Thinking of this, the strange scene in front of him could be explained. Just as Yang Kai was about to get closer to investigate, a sudden change occurred. A figure suddenly rushed out from the fog and charged straight at Yang Kai. Martial Peak. Martial Peak, Chapter 5885, Strange Small Stone Race Member, Martial Peak. Because he was worried about Big Brother Huang, Big Sister Lan, and Zhong Ruo Shi, Yang Kai's complete attention was on the strange egg-shaped object after arriving here, so he had failed to notice anything else out of the ordinary. Moreover, he really hadn't expected to be ambushed in this place. More importantly, the ambusher's aura was exactly the same as the mist, making it the perfect camouflage. It wasn't until the other party was charging at him that Yang Kai finally noticed. The ambusher was extremely fast and was already before him by the time he blinked. When Yang Kai finally caught sight of the figure, he couldn't help but look surprised. The one rushing at him was none other than a small stone race member, who was slightly larger than an ordinary human. At first glance, it gave the impression of someone wearing a set of stone armor. This is. Along the way, Yang Kai had seen hundreds of millions of small stone race members, but none of them had paid him any attention. However, after coming here, this one suddenly attacked him. Yang Kai had no idea how he had offended it. The other party's attack was quite simple. After all, this was a race with low sentience. All it did was charge over and throw a punch at Yang Kai once it arrived in front of him. Yang Kai casually raised his hand to block. The strength of the small stone race was directly related to their size. The bigger they were, the stronger their strength. The small stone race members that were as strong as 8th Order Master were all 1,000 meters tall and could only be considered giants. Under normal circumstances, such a small stone race member that was just slightly larger than the human could not be any stronger than the 5th Order Open Heaven Realm Master. Yang Kai could easily block an attack from such a being with his current cultivation. However, Yang Kai realized how horribly wrong he was the next moment. Much to his astonishment, this punch actually made him stagger back, and the palm he used to block it was actually tingling slightly. If Yang Kai hadn't noticed that something was wrong at the moment of contact and hurriedly increased his strength, this single punch would have sent him flying. Before he could figure out what was going on, the small stone race member threw another punch at him at incredible speed. What the hell? Yang Kai was truly shocked and swiftly blocked the attack before fighting back. The shock in Yang Kai's heart was indescribable. This strange small stone race member before him was completely different from those he knew. Just from the strength and speed of its punches, this small stone race member was not inferior to an ordinary 9th Order Master. Is this guy really from the small stone race? Although Yang Kai didn't know why this small stone race member in front of him had undergone such a strange mutation, He was certain it was absolutely not an ordinary one. All this time, the strongest small stone race members cultivated by Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan were only equivalent to 8th Order Masters. In the past, Yang Kai had thought that if Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan could cultivate small stone race members equivalent to 9th Order Masters, it would be a great help to the human race. However, this was just a fantasy. It was already Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan's limit to cultivate small stone race soldiers to the level of an 8th Order Master. Wishing to cultivate one that was equal to a 9th Order Master was simply a fool's dream. In the past, Yang Kai had asked them about this matter, and the answer he received was that all of the small stone race members were nurtured by either pure yang or yin energy. The Great Sun small stone race was created by Big Brother Huang, while the Great Moon small stone race was created by Big Sister Lan. As Yang Kai was intimately aware now, solitary yin or yang cannot give birth to true life. These two small stone race armies that had been cultivated using only one type of energy had an innate flaw, so it was impossible for them to grow to the level of a 9th Order Master, no matter how much energy they absorbed. In order to solve this problem, their energies needed to be converged and condensed in a kind of yin-yang harmony. Only then would there be a slight possibility to go further. After having not come to the chaotic dead territory in so many years, Yang Kai had not only seen hundreds of millions of small stone race members rampaging out of control, but a 9th Order small stone race master also attacked him. Truly, life was unpredictable. Be that as it may, the appearance of this small stone race master in front of him undoubtedly proved that the small stone race could in fact produce existences comparable to 9th Order Master. How did this happen? Yang Kai couldn't help but think of the strange mist he had seen as a vague guess popped up in his mind. Zhongruo Shi's Heaven's Order bloodline was derived from the core essence of the primordial light, which was the harmonizing factor for the pure yin and yang energies of Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan. Yin and yang were intertwining inside the mist, fulfilling the conditions required for the birth of a 9th Order small stone race. This discovery greatly excited Yang Kai. The small stone race had given birth to something equivalent to a 9th Order Master, which would definitely be of great help to the human race. It was the right choice to make a trip to chaotic dead territory. The mutant small stone race master continued its onslaught against Yang Kai owing to its limited intelligence, while Yang Kai couldn't retaliate against it, putting him in a bit of an awkward situation. Fortunately, that is all it is, Yang Kai softly muttered. Because the small stone race's intelligence was low, it only knew how to punch instinctively. So, even though it had strength and speed comparable to a 9th Order Master, its combat capabilities were much inferior, otherwise, it would be quite troublesome to deal with it. Just as this thought flashed through Yang Kai's mind, the small stone race master who had been chasing him all this time suddenly stopped, and did something that greatly stunned him. It raised its two hands and spread its arms, its palms facing each other as if it was holding a giant, invisible ball. The next moment, the color of its eyes suddenly changed, one becoming yellow, the other blue. Their colors weren't constant either and were instead rapidly changing. At any given moment, the color of its eyes flickered back and forth. Seeing this change, Yang Kai's heart jumped as he instinctively felt something wrong. By the looks of it, this strange small stone race master had another unknown ability. Just as expected, following the actions of this small stone race master, extremely rich yin and yang energies emerged in the space between in its palms. The two forces rapidly circled around each other before merging together like a spinning top, rapidly expanding and transforming into the size of a washbasin in the blink of an eye. As the two energies rotated, the yellow and blue colors also began to blend and change. Not far away, Yang Kai stopped and observed, sensing the fluctuations from the ball of energy formed by the fusion of yin and yang, quickly deducing the power of this move. This kind of attack was definitely not inferior to a full power strike from a 9th Order Master. From the moment the small stone race master halted and began using this mysterious technique, less than a breath of time had passed. Once the yin-yang ball was fully formed, the small stone race master hurled it straight towards Yang Kai. The recoil from this move even pushed the small stone race master a few steps back. Yang Kai raised his brow. This power was even greater than he had expected. Nonetheless, the way it used this secret technique was far too crude. Although this attack was exceptionally strong, it couldn't hit him. Yang Kai simply sidestepped and easily dodged the incoming projectile. Be that as it may, the small stone race master clearly didn't intend to stop. After stabilizing its footing, it repeated its actions. As such, the small stone race master fired several yin-yang balls one after another while Yang Kai continued dodging them casually. Is that the only attack it knows? Yang Kai muttered in his heart. After waiting for a while and confirming that the small stone race master had no new tricks, he decided to end this. He didn't want to kill this small stone race master. No matter how it was born, it should be closely related to Zhong Ruoxi, Big Brother Huang, and Big Sister Lan. Furthermore, this small stone race master would be of great help to the human race. It would be a pity to kill a helper as strong as a Ninth Order master. Yang Kai wanted to subdue it. In order to command a race with such low sentience like the small stone race, the fastest and most convenient way was to activate the great sun and moon marks. Immediately, Yang Kai stretched his hands towards it, directing the power of the great sun and moon marks towards the small stone race master. Unfortunately, the infallible control method actually had no effect this time. The small stone race master who was attacking Yang Kai with yin-yang balls was dazed for a moment but then resumed attacking immediately after. Yang Kai couldn't help frowning. The great sun and moon marks had always been a foolproof way to command the small stone race. In front of these two marks, even the 8th Order small stone race members had always been extremely obedient. This method seemed to have lost all effectiveness with this 9th Order small stone race master. This was the first time such a thing had happened. But after giving it a thought, Yang Kai vaguely understood what was going on. The former small stone race soldiers had all been cultivated by either Big Brother Huang or Big Sister Lan, so their marks naturally had a suppressive effect. However, this 9th Order one not only had Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan's energies, but also Zhong Ruoxi's ability to harmonize them. It had already become a brand new kind of power, so the great sun and moon marks effects were almost negligible. Although he had come to such a conclusion, Yang Kai was not willing to just give up and tried to activate the power of his marks several more times, but to no avail. Ultimately, he had no choice but to abandon this plan. Damn it! It wasn't easy for a 9th Order small stone race master to appear, yet it refused to listen to his orders. Yang Kai wanted to bring it to the battlefield to use as a surprise trump card against the Black Ink clan. Apart from anything else, if such a small stone race master didn't care about its life or death, it wouldn't be a problem for it to battle a royal lord for a short time. Of course, because its attacks were simple and its intelligence was low, it wouldn't end well for it if it were to fight for too long. While many thoughts were flashing across Yang Kai's mind, the small stone race powerhouse seemed to have used up too much of its energy as the yellow and blue color in its eyes gradually became dimmer after sending out so many yin-yang balls. Immediately, it turned around and flew towards the direction it had come from. This situation was very much like going back to find food after a fight, not caring if Yang Kai would do anything to it. Yang Kai couldn't help but worry about the intelligence of this being. Although it had extreme strength, if it was let loose on the battlefield without any method to control it, it would likely cause just as much disturbance to the human side as the Black Ink clans. Oh well, Yang Kai relaxed. There was only one such small stone race master, so even if he couldn't subdue it, he wasn't too distressed either. But this joy only lasted for 3 breaths before Yang Kai looked in the direction of the returning small stone race powerhouse as 2 more identical small stone race masters emerged from the mist. Marshall Peak. Marshall Peak, Chapter 5886, Stand Aside, Marshall Peak. In the void, half a day later, Yang Kai was using Thunder Shadow's innate divine ability to conceal his aura and figure, staring at the egg-shaped mist from afar with a frustrated look on his face. Originally, he did not regret the fact that he could not subdue the 9th Order small stone race master, believing that there was just one such anomaly. He could do nothing about it, but since there was only one, he had no choice but to accept it. However, Yang Kai later discovered that there was more than one of them. After half a day of probing and dragging things out, Yang Kai was certain that there were no less than 5 such masters. As for how many of them there were exactly, he couldn't say for sure, because every time these 9th Order small stone race masters emerged from the mist and attacked him, they would return to the mist once they had exhausted themselves too much. And after returning, they would completely disappear like water merging into the sea. This was also the reason why Yang Kai hadn't seen the others before, as their existence was too difficult to detect. At the very least, there were 5 of them, perhaps even more. Yang Kai stared at the mist with naked greed and frustration, so much so that both drool and tears almost trickled down his face. If he could successfully subdue this force, it would be of enormous help to the human race in conquering the no-return pass, but right now, all he could do was stare from afar. He basically didn't have the strength or means to subdue these masters. The great sun and moon marks were unable to control these 9th-order small stone race masters. Left with no alternative, Yang Kai tried to force one of them into his small universe to suppress it. Unfortunately, it was impossible to communicate with them as their level of intelligence was too low. Even when Yang Kai managed to take one in and suppress it, it kept resisting, draining Yang Kai's energy and strength. If he brought them to the battlefield in their current state, it might even cause some damage to the human race. Helpless, Yang Kai could only release the one he suppressed. Even when he was unable to subdue these creatures though, Yang Kai was unwilling to just leave like this, feeling extremely depressed. According to his estimations, since they were created because Zhongruo had harmonized both yin and yang energies, only Zhongruo could command them. Furthermore, judging by their behavior, they seemed to be protecting Zhongruo, because as long as Yang Kai didn't approach the mist, he was completely safe. However, once he got too close, they would immediately attack. This made it obvious they were guarding this place. Yang Kai didn't know what Zhongruo, Big Brother Huang, and Big Sister Lan had done over the past 1,000 years, but by the looks of it, they seemed to be in the middle of something incredible. The birth of these 9th-order small stone race masters was simply unimaginable before. After quietly observing for a long time, Yang Kai had no choice but to quash his greed. Some things in this world couldn't be forced. What was certain now was that Zhongruo herself was safe, and she was using her Heaven's Order bloodline to harmonize with Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan's yin and yang energies. Although he didn't know how long this process would last, once she succeeded, she might be able to step into the 9th-order open heaven realm. At that time, the power she would control would definitely surpass all 9th-order masters. What was that energy turmoil, though? Yang Kai couldn't help but recall the scene he had witnessed some time ago. The yang and yin energies seemed to have gone out of control and exploded out into the chaotic dead territory, causing a large amount of yin and yang manifestations to appear, which were then subsequently devoured by the small stone race. Judging by the large population and the body sizes of the small stone race in the chaotic dead territory, this was not the first time this loss of control had occurred, it must have happened many times before. At the same time, because Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan were in a state where their energies were still harmonizing, the small stone race soldiers in the chaotic dead territory no longer had any restrictions and had reverted back to their original nature, instinctually devouring resources, breeding new clansmen, then fighting to the death. This was the reason why Yang Kai saw so many small stone race members fighting in the chaotic dead territory. If the yin and yang energies exploded with such frequency, perhaps I should observe it for a while. I don't think it will take too long. Having come to a decision, Yang Kai decided to spend a year observing the situation here in order to obtain more information. Time ticked by bit while Yang Kai remained hidden all this while, observing the situation around Zhongruo. Just as he had expected, the frequency at which the energies went out of control was indeed very high. He didn't even need to wait for an entire year. In just 3 months, the originally stable fog suddenly started fluctuating wildly. Right then, Zhongruo, who seemed to be peacefully sleeping in the middle of the fog, unconsciously let out a groan. Judging by her voice, she seemed to be enduring incredible pain. At the same time, the yin and yang energies that were constantly flowing and fusing in the mist also became unstable. In the blink of an eye, a dazzling light began to spread outward with the fog egg as the center. A moment later, just like what Yang Kai had seen 3 months ago, the entire chaotic dead territory was filled with the manifestations of yin and yang energy, causing countless small stone race members to flock towards them. After personally witnessing this scene, Yang Kai finally understood the cause behind it. The yin and yang energies had rampaged out of control simply because Zhongruo was too weak. Of course, her current cultivation in the Eighth Order could in no way be considered weak in general terms, but compared to Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan, she was still a slightly bigger ant at best. Even though she possessed the Heaven's Order bloodline, it was still difficult for her to fully control the power of beings that were born at the creation of the universe. So, when she tried to harmonize the primordial yin and yang energies, some situations would occur that were difficult to control. Once such a situation occurred, she would lose control of the yin and yang energies, which would then disperse into the surroundings, resulting in the massive increase of the small stone race in the chaotic dead territory. Fortunately, the Heaven's Order bloodline was truly amazing, especially when it came to harmonizing yang and yin. Every time the energies went out of control, they would be stabilized once more in short order. After observing the loss of control of the energies from a close distance, Yang Kai was finally able to determine the exact number of Ninth Order small stone race masters. When the energies went out of control, the Ninth Order small stone race masters who were hidden in the fog also became visible, at which point Yang Kai counted 8 of them. How many Ninth Order masters did the human race have attacking the no-return pass? Including Shi Die Zhuang and Tang Dao, who had recently broken through in the last 20 years, there were only 10 of them in total, but there were actually 8 Ninth Order small stone race master. If Yang Kai could somehow drag these 8 small stone race masters to the battlefield, who knows how many lives they could save? Wiping the corner of his mouth, Yang Kai ruthlessly squashed his greedy thoughts again before turning around and flying towards the depths of the void. He had come here intending to bring Zhong Ruoxi out so that she could play some role on the battlefield, but by the looks of it, this plan would not work. At the very least, it would be impossible for her to emerge until she had successfully harmonized the yang and yin energies. Until then, Yang Kai could not take these Ninth Order small stone race masters to the battlefield either, he could only look at them from afar. Since that was the case, Yang Kai decided to take some regular small stone race soldiers, especially the Eighth Order ones. This was the main reason he had come here. His speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye after activating his space principles, Yang Kai arrived at a nearby battlefield. At this moment, as the yin and yang energies had erupted not too long ago and a group of small stone race soldiers happened to have surrounded a manifestation of yang energy and were constantly devouring it. Yang Kai teleported over, opened his small universe, and activated the great sun and moon marks, shouting, "Stand aside." He didn't care if the small stone race understood or not, he just wanted to vent his frustrations. The great sun and moon marks might have no effect on the Ninth Order ones, but it was always successful in commanding these ordinary small stone race soldiers. With a single command, the small stone race members stepped aside, revealing the yang energy manifestation they had surrounded. The manifestation originally bore a resemblance with Big Brother Huang's true form, albeit much smaller in size, but after being eaten by the small stone race members, it now looked like a Phoenix clan member with broken wings. Yang Kai didn't mind and directly took it into his small universe and suppressed it. Immediately after, he rushed to the next location. After so many years of constant war, the human race's demand for yellow and blue crystals had become extremely high. Yang Kai had originally wanted to ask Big Brother Huang and Big Sister Lan for more yellow and blue crystals, but now that he couldn't, he could only use this method to collect some. As such, he had to act quickly, otherwise the omnipresent small stone race would soon devour all of the dissipated yin and yang energies. For a time, Yang Kai's figure shuttled back and forth through the void, borrowing the power of the great sun and moon marks to force all of the small stone race to retreat and obediently hand over their food to him. Even if Yang Kai was fast though, he had no choice but to stop after an incense stick worth of time, because apart from the yin and yang energies he had taken into his small universe, the rest of the dispersed energies had been devoured clean by the small stone race. Many small stone race members had become stronger, even breaking through their own limits. Standing still, Yang Kai examined his harvest. Inside his small universe, the yang and yin energies suppressed by him had already transformed into pieces of yellow and blue crystals. Some were as small as a fist while others were as large as a house. His harvest was not small, but it was definitely not much. The main reason was that Yang Kai was a bit slow as he had to carefully observe Zhong Ruoxi's situation first, which gave the small stone race ample time to devour most of the dispersed yin and yang energies. Yang Kai naturally would not be satisfied with such a small harvest, so he immediately began traversing through the void. At the same time, he opened a portal to his small universe and kept it open all the while. In any case, Yang Kai wasn't worried about his own strength leaking with the World Tree clone protecting his small universe. This would have been quite a risky move for any other Open Heaven Realm master, as every bit of energy leaking out of the portal was a result of arduous and time-consuming cultivation. The loss of every bit of energy would make one a bit weaker. Yang Kai also left the great sun and moon marks on the backs of his hands constantly active. Everywhere he went, he would collect all the suitable small stone race soldiers he could find into his small universe, just like how the autumn wind would sweep away the fallen leaves. The selection criteria was simple: all those comparable to human race third-order Open Heaven Realm masters were taken. All the small stone race members who didn't even have such strength would be useless, even if Yang Kai collected them. If he were to let them out on the battlefield, he would just be sending them to their deaths, so he might as well let them continue to grow stronger here instead. Marshall Peak. Marshall Peak, Chapter 5887, popping his head out, Marshall Peak. In just a short month, Yang Kai had taken in more than a couple 100 million small stone race soldiers into his small universe. Such a terrifying number put even Yang Kai's small universe under a great deal of pressure. Although he could still take in more, after carefully weighing the pros and cons, he decided to temporarily put aside this unrestrained method of collecting small stone race soldiers and instead focus on taking in the elites. As such, he continued to wander through the chaotic dead territory's various battlefields for the next 2 months, specifically looking for the 8th Order ones. He might not be able to subdue Zhong Ruoshi's 9th Order small stone race masters, but with the help of the Great Sun and Moon marks, it wasn't a problem to subdue some 8th Order ones. Right now, the 8th Order ones in the chaotic dead territory were in quite a large number, and with the constant dispersion of the yang and yin energy, this number would only continue to increase. As such, Yang Kai's actions didn't have much of an impact on the population of the small stone race. All he needed to do was grasp the balance between the two sides. While he was subduing a certain number of Great Sun small stone race, he also needed to subdue an equal number of Great Moon small stone race members. This way, he wouldn't break the balance in the chaotic dead territory, which would naturally prevent a situation where one side completely suppressed the other and would eventually wipe it out. 3 months after the last energy burst, a dazzling light once again appeared in Zhong Ruoshi's direction, followed by the dispersal of yin and yang energies in all directions, filling the chaotic dead territory. Yang Kai was well prepared this time. He immediately began competing with the small stone race armies for the manifestations of yang and yin energies. As such, his harvest was much greater than last time. When the energy went out of control, he would collect the manifestations, and after the energy stabilized, he would search for the 8th Order small stone race members. Only after more than a year did Yang Kai finally leave the chaotic dead territory. The small stone race members he had subdued were enough, and he had also collected a large amount of yellow and blue crystals, enough to sustain the human race for 1,000 years. Although there was still some time left, Yang Kai didn't dare to stay any longer. According to his and Mi Jing Lun's plan, after the human race's first attack on the no-return pass, they would launch their second attack 2 years later regardless of the previous results. However, sometimes plans couldn't keep up with sudden changes in the status quo and accidents might occur, causing the second battle to be brought forward ahead of schedule. As such, he had to return to the barren territory as soon as possible. The return trip was uneventful, and Yang Kai returned to the barren territory after 3 months. Yang Kai had taken 3 months to reach the chaotic dead territory as well, because he wasn't in a hurry, and he was injured as well. He was using the journey to slowly recover from his wounds, so he hadn't used his full strength. Yang Kai didn't stop for even a moment on his way back, but the reason why he had spent the same amount of time was because his top speed had fallen. He had taken in too many small stone race into his small universe, which made it difficult for him to circulate his strength. To put it simply, the small universe's burden had affected his strength, lowering his speed. The moment Yang Kai returned to the barren territory, he immediately looked in the direction of the territory gate. He could vaguely see the magnificent no-return pass, but there seemed to be no sign of a battle. Yang Kai immediately breathed a sigh of relief after confirming this. However, Just to be safe, he still entered the territory gate and poked his head out to take a closer look at the no-return pass. As far as the eye could see, the entire no-return pass was in an extremely tense state, with soldiers flinching up at the slightest sound. The dense black ink strength was like a thick layer of dark clouds that covered the sky. Compared to the last battle, the current no-return pass had obviously undergone some changes in its defensive arrangements. With the help of the damaged Great Passes, the Black Ink clan's perimeter had shrunk, and a large number of artifacts had been placed on these damaged Great Passes. The entire no-return pass was filled with a sense of danger. By the looks of it, the last battle had clearly made the Black Ink clan aware of their own disadvantages. Although occupying the no-return pass gave them the defender's advantage, correspondingly, it made them a fixed target. The human race's strategy of using universe worlds to attack them was a perfect example of how their fixed position could be taken advantage of. As such, even though the Black Ink clan's forces were still strong, they had still shrunk their defensive perimeter, greatly increasing their defensive strength. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible for the human race to obtain similar results after the Black Ink clan had made such changes. In the last battle, the Black Ink clan was caught off guard when the universe worlds came flying at them. Hundreds of universe worlds had various spirit arrays arranged on them, so the damage from this assault was immense. Once the Black Ink clan's defensive line was broken, the human race army wrought havoc by flooding in through these breaches. With the current deployment of the Black Ink clan, even if the human race used their previous tactics of launching universe worlds, they wouldn't be able to easily breach the defensive line. Yang Kai couldn't help but click his tongue. Although he knew that taking back the no-return pass would not be an easy task, he found that it was even more difficult to deal with than he had expected after seeing that the Black Ink clan had gathered all of their forces. Just as he was thinking of continuing to observe, more than a dozen fearsome auras suddenly appeared in his vicinity as numerous secret techniques came flying towards him from all directions. Yang Kai hastily withdrew his head. The commotion here quickly attracted Mo Na's attention and he instantly rushed out, arriving near the territory gate. He took a glance around before coldly asking, "What is it?" One of the pseudo-royal lords who was stationed here for a long time replied. Yang Kai's head just popped out. Yang Kai was currently in the barren territory with the two giant spirit gods, so how could Mo Na not be on guard against him? Therefore, he had arranged more than a dozen pseudo-royal lords to monitor the territory gate after the last great battle, in case Yang Kai suddenly attacked. According to his understanding of Yang Kai, he knew that this bastard wouldn't just sit back and do nothing. When Yang Kai had not recently appeared, much to his surprise, Mo Na guessed that Yang Kai was probably healing himself. His head popped out. Hearing the pseudo-royal lord's explanation, Mo Na furrowed his brow. "It's like this," the pseudo-royal lord explained as he made a gesture like a turtle stretching its head. Mo Na's face twitched as he watched the pseudo-royal lord imitate Yang Kai. Well, this could certainly be described as his head popping out. The pseudo-royal lord continued, "I guess he wanted to investigate the situation here and had no intention of actually coming over. I also don't think he would dare to." Mo Na coldly snorted before exhorting, "Be careful, if Yang Kai dares to pop out his head again, knock him back." Mo Na didn't say anything about killing Yang Kai, because that was impossible. Last time, Yang Kai had still managed to escape in that kind of situation, so how could this menace give the Black Ink clan another chance to kill him? Yes. The pseudo-royal lords nodded. Mo Na clenched his fists and lightly coughed before turning around and returning to his Black Ink nest. He had also suffered some minor injuries in the last battle. His wounds weren't serious, at least not to the point where he needed to enter a Black Ink nest to recover, but he knew in his heart that as long as the battle continued, his injuries would continue to accumulate. Sooner or later, they would develop to the point where he needed to enter a deep slumber to heal, and once that happened, the Black Ink clan would not be far from defeat. The fact that the Black Ink clan needed to enter Black Ink nests to recover from serious injuries had always been the greatest flaw of their entire race. The human race, who long ago figured this out, never let such opportunities slip by. After so many years of war, the human race had used this flaw to stir up trouble more than once. When the Black Ink clan invaded the 3000 worlds, They had a clear and absolute advantage on the 12 frontline battlefields, but they had never been able to defeat the human race army. The main reason was because the humans fought back doggedly, putting their lives on the line to trade injuries with the enemy, forcing many Black Ink clan masters back to their black ink nests to slumber. When the humans were injured, they could quickly recover with the help of secret techniques or pills, but what about the Black Ink clan? Once their injuries accumulated to a certain degree, they would either be killed or forced to return to the no-return pass to recuperate. As such, their advantage in numbers was greatly diminished. Hundreds of years ago, even though the Eighth Order Masters knew that they were no match for the pseudo-royal lords, they would still go all out to injure their opponents even at the risk of death. Thanks to the sacrifice of many Eighth Order Masters, at least a quarter of all pseudo-royal lords were constantly stuck in the no-return pass recuperating. Inside a certain black ink nest, a look of sadness appeared on Mo Nae's face. Originally, the Black Ink clan had the upper hand, but now they had fallen to such a state. In the entire Black Ink clan, perhaps no other Black Ink clansman could clearly see the turning point of this battle besides him. Even Mo, you might have no idea. In fact, back when the Black Ink clan was forced by Yang Kai to withdraw all their claws and fangs and retreat to the no-return pass, Mo Nae had already anticipated this day. Prior to this, the Black Ink clan held the initiative in terms of overall strength, so all of Mo Nae's plans and arrangements were extremely reliable. It could be said that as long as there were no unexpected accidents, the Black Ink clan had a 70% chance of winning the war. Unfortunately for the Black Ink clan, after the appearance of the universe furnace, Yang Kai, who had disappeared for some 600 years, suddenly returned and disrupted everything. Under his domineering intimidation, Mo Nae had no choice but to recall all of the pseudo-royal lords and territory lords who had been fighting on the front lines. The abandoned Black Ink clan armies were naturally wiped out by the humans, causing the Black Ink clan to suffer further heavy losses. Even that was still fine though, but the key was that the Black Ink clan had no place to go other than retreating to the no-return pass and guarding it. As such, the human race was able to gather all of its forces and no longer need to split up like before. All they needed to do was focus their attacks on the no-return pass while not having to worry about any other fronts. The true turning point of the war between the human race and Black Ink clan was when Yang Kai, who had disappeared for hundreds of years, suddenly reappeared. After his appearance, the human race and Black Ink clan's defensive and offensive positions had switched. Without Yang Kai's coercion, the Black Ink clan wouldn't have been reduced to such a miserable situation. If there was no Yang Kai, the Black Ink clan would have dozens more pseudo-royal lords today. If there was no Yang Kai, the innate territory lords who had snuck out of the primordial heavens source grand restriction would have all been able to safely arrive at the no-return pass. At that time, the Black Ink clan's strength would have definitely soared, and the human race would not have been their opponent. Unfortunately, all that was only if Yang Kai didn't exist. Over the years, Yang Kai had slowly shaved pieces of flesh bit by bit from the body of a fat cow that was the Black Ink clan like a skilled butcher. Even now, the Black Ink clan still looked powerful, but in reality, they were not far from their doom. Marshall Peak. Marshall Peak, Chapter 5888, New Cultivation Method. Marshall Peak. As shrewd and intelligent as Mo Nae was, how could he not see that it was impossible for the Black Ink clan to win this battle? Sooner or later, the human race would overwhelm the Black Ink clan army and capture the no-return pass. The only fate awaiting the Black Ink clansmen in the no-return pass was to be completely wiped out. Even if he knew this though, what was he supposed to do? It was impossible for him to escape. Furthermore, the human race would have to pay a big price to capture the no-return pass. The humans still had a bigger target after taking down the no-return pass. If he could cripple the human race army using the power of the Black Ink clansmen in the no-return pass, even if the humans won this battle, they would still lose the war. As long as the Black Ink clan could unify all under the heavens and allow Mo to rule supreme, it did not matter if all the Black Ink clansmen in the no-return pass were sacrificed. The human race had already revealed all of their cards, but the strength the Black Ink clan had shown until now was still just the tip of the iceberg. This war that concerned the survival of the two races would ultimately end in the defeat of the human race. Mo Nae firmly believed this. At the same time, The space-time river stretched across the void in the barren territory. Wind and clouds were surging on the surface of the river as Tao's strengths undulated. Inside the long river, Yang Kai was pushing the time Tao strength to its utmost limit, deriving its endless mysteries. He had borrowed the strength of the star boundary and the myriad monsters world for the last 20 years to cultivate, which allowed his strength to soar, but he still had room for improvement. According to his own classification of the Ninth Order Open Heaven realm, he was currently only in the mid-stage. Now, there was no longer a suitable universe world to rely on to cultivate. If he wanted to simply rely on the accumulation of time to increase his strength, even with Yang Kai's cultivation speed and his small universe's innate advantages, 2,000 years would likely be the minimum he needed to reach the peak of the Ninth Order Open Heaven realm. If he could reach the peak, he wouldn't be afraid of anyone even if he was up against a black ink giant spirit god. But under the current circumstances, what he lacked the most was time. According to the Supreme Headquarters plan, they needed to conquer the no-return pass within 20 years before they continued their crusade to the primordial heavens source grand restriction, quelling the Black Ink clan disaster once and for all. With Yang Kai's current foundation, even if he cultivated this entire time, he probably wouldn't make any noticeable progress. Fortunately, time wasn't something immutable, especially in front of someone like Yang Kai who was proficient in the grand Taos of time and space. The time flow of his small universe was 10 times faster than the outside world, so a year in the outside world was 10 years in his small universe. Long ago, Yang Kai chanced upon several temporal rivers inside the Great Sea celestial phenomenon which allowed him to cultivate for the equivalent of 4,000 years in just a few hundred years in the outside world, breaking through to the Eighth Order in one fell swoop. His attainments in many of his grand Taos had also improved during that time. With all these kinds of personal experiences, it naturally gave birth to some ideas in Yang Kai's head. But of course, just having ideas was useless. He needed to have the ability to turn them into reality to receive any benefits. Fortunately, with Yang Kai's attainments in the Tao of Time, he was already equipped with this ability. He had once built 3 sealed worlds in High Heaven Palace that were related to the 3 primary grand Taos he cultivated, respectively space, time, and spear Tao sealed worlds. Not to mention, the space and spear Tao sealed worlds, the time Tao sealed world had a similar effect to his small universe. Cultivators who entered it to gain experience would experience a faster flow of time compared to the outside world, but the ratio wasn't as exaggerated. It was only about 1 to 4. Even so, the soldiers still flocked to this place, as only 1 year passed on the outside while one cultivated for 4 years in the time Tao sealed world. It was equivalent to increasing the efficiency of their cultivation by 4 times. Therefore, among these 3 sealed worlds, the time Tao sealed world was the most popular because even if one wasn't proficient in the Tao of Time, they could still use this sealed world to cultivate, while a few who were proficient in the Tao of Time could comprehend the mysteries of the Tao of Time and improve the mastery of their own grand Tao. Originally, the 3 sealed worlds Yang Kai had left behind were for the disciples of the Void Tao Temple to cultivate their grand Taos, but there were no restrictions on entry. Once too many soldiers wanted to enter the time Tao sealed world though, which severely affected the disciples who had truly cultivated the Tao of Time, some rules were put in place. Head manager Hua had no choice but to report this matter to the Supreme Headquarters, after which, the Supreme Headquarters issued an order that one needed a certain amount of military merits to enter the time Tao sealed world. Even so, that did little to dampen the enthusiasm of the soldiers. If it weren't for the fact that Yang Kai was always on the move and it was hard to get a hold on him, Mi Jinglun would have asked him to build more time Tao sealed worlds. It could be said that Yang Kai had been able to create a sealed world inside of which the flow of time different from the outside world a long time ago, and now that he had reached the Ninth Order, with his mastery over the Tao of Time had reached an even higher level, he was naturally more proficient in such matters. In fact, when Yang Kai had escaped from the universe furnace and was on his way back from the edge of the universe, he had already started working on this. Yang Kai had not just been hurrying along during his 600-year journey, he had also realized that time was not on his side. No matter how quickly his strength increased, it was unable to keep up with the progress of the war. If he wanted to completely solve this problem, he had to find a way to gain more time. After 600 years of painstaking research and many improvements, he had developed a certain method to do exactly that. At this moment, the Tao strengths in the spacetime river stretched across the void were astir under Yang Kai's control. Soon, Yang Kai had stripped away thousands of Tao strengths, leaving behind only the last Tao strength of time. This was not difficult for the current Yang Kai. Although his mastery of the Tao of time had yet to break through to the highest 9th level, he had reached the very peak of the 8th level. With this, the space-time river transformed into a temporal river. It was exactly the same as the temporal rivers he had seen in the Great Sea celestial phenomenon all those years ago, but its effects were even more amazing. Using his full strength, Yang Kai was able to create a flow of time that was 30 times faster than that of the outside world. In other words, while 1 year passed in the outside world, 30 would go by inside the temporal river. Back when he was cultivating in the Great Sea celestial phenomenon, Yang Kai would have to search for new temporal rivers after exhausting the time Tao essence in his previous temporal river. But now that the temporal river was created using his own Tao strength, it would be much more convenient and faster than before. As long as Yang Kai was willing, he could use this temporal river and enter a state of cultivation at any moment. Of course, cultivating like this and continuously using his time Tao strength was quite taxing on him, but compared to his gains, this was a minor concern. With the problem of time resolved, Yang Kai now had another problem, which was resources. This kind of cultivation required an enormous amount of resources, and Yang Kai didn't have many on hand. He had plenty of yellow and blue crystals, but he lacked 5 elements materials. As such, compared to his previous worry about the human race declaring war early, Yang Kai was now more than happy to see the human race go to war sooner. While he was cultivating in the temporal river, RDA and RE were eating a dead universe world. This universe world had been given to them by Yang Kai after he returned from Myriad Monsters territory. Giant spirit gods fell asleep after they were full, so Yang Kai did not dare to feed them too much at once. As such, although Yang Kai still had a lot of world beads on hand, he didn't plan on taking them all out at once. In the long temporal river, a large number of materials were refined by Yang Kai as time passed by, building up the foundation of his small universe and allowing him to slowly expand his heritage. After an unknown period, Yang Kai suddenly felt a shockwave and immediately ended his cultivation, exiting the temporal river. The shockwave was an agreement between him and the 2 giant spirit gods. He had asked them to inform him right away if something happened at the no-return pass. After all, he was deep in meditative cultivation inside a distorted spacetime, so his ability to sense outside movements was quite restricted. At this moment, he jumped out of the river and shot a glance towards the no-return pass. As expected, he noticed that the situation there wasn't quite right. A large number of Black Ink clansmen had been mobilized to form a defensive line, as if they were preparing for a war. The war has finally resumed. Yang Kai let out a sigh of relief. The supplies he had on hand had almost been exhausted, and if the human race did not start fighting soon, he would ultimately have to end his cultivation anyway. At this moment, seeing the no-return pass Black Ink clan's response, Yang Kai knew that the human race army was on the move. However, because they were separated by a territory gate, he couldn't clearly see the exact situation of the no-return pass, let alone what was happening further away with the human army. However, he was both bold and talented. In a flash, Yang Kai arrived at the territory gate using instantaneous movement and, just like last time, popped his head out and looked into the distance. Although he was knocked back by the pseudo-royal lords who were standing guard nearby the next moment, he was still able to catch a glimpse of the human race army approaching from the distant void. Yang Kai immediately rubbed his palms together. In the battle 2 years ago, the human race had gained the upper hand and killed countless enemies. After 2 years, the human race would be able to obtain a significant advantage in the second attack as well. Of course, the most important thing was that he was no longer the same person he was 2 years ago. He had only cultivated for a short time and his strength had not changed much, but he was no longer fighting alone, he now had many helpers. This battle will definitely shock the Black Ink clan. Contrary to Yang Kai's itch for action, Mo-Na had an extremely solemn look on his face. The human race army was approaching, and there was also Yang Kai and the 2 giant spirit gods eyeing them from the barren territory. The two giant spirit gods could basically be ignored for the moment, as neither side would easily deploy their strongest forces before the final confrontation began. Both sides had a tacit understanding about this. However, Yang Kai was different. Mo-Na was certain that this bastard wouldn't be willing to sit still and would definitely kill his way out of the barren territory and stir up trouble. How annoying. We need to restrain him. Once this guy steps onto the battlefield, all of the pseudo-royal lords of the Black Ink clan would be in danger. Thinking so, Mo-Na called out, "Diya Luo." Standing beside him, the new royal lord shot a glance at him. What instructions does Sir Mo-Na have? I need you to block Yang Kai. Don't let him come to the no-return pass. Mo-Na concisely stated. Diya Luo's expression slightly changed as he hesitated. If it was just me, I'm afraid. The pseudo-royal lords guarding the territory gate will cooperate with you. Mo-Na interrupted. Are you confident? Diya Luo was silent for a moment before quickly replying. I will do my best. Marshall Peak. Marshall Peak, Chapter 5889, the second battle, Marshall Peak. From this answer, it was clear that Diya Luo didn't have much confidence. Mo-Na was well aware of this as well. In fact, even Mo-Na did not have confidence even if he personally took action. Unfortunately, since the situation had come to this, what more could he say? Actually, ever since the Four Gates 8 Palaces Great Pagoda Array had lost its effect on Yang Kai, the Black Ink clan no longer had the ability to deal with him at all. This was also the reason why Mo-Na knew that the Black Ink clan in the no-return pass would definitely be defeated. A powerful Ninth Order master, who could appear and disappear like a ghost and couldn't be killed or even contained, brought too much pressure to the Black Ink clan. Sighing, he could only say, "Do your best." Assisted by a dozen pseudo-royal lords, even if Diya Luo could not stop Yang Kai from entering the no-return pass, it shouldn't be a problem to keep him busy. As long as they could restrain him somewhat, the other pseudo-royal lords on the battlefield would be able to use their full strength and not have to worry about sneak attacks. This was also an acceptable outcome. After instructing Diya Luo, Mo-Na turned his head towards the depths of the void and coldly snorted. This move again. Similar to what had happened 2 years ago, the human race army was attacking from left and right, while in the center, massive universe worlds could be seen flying over from a distance. The human race's strategy of using universe worlds to attack was too dirty and despicable, but it was an undeniable fact that although this strategy was simple, it was extremely effective. In the last battle, the human race had used this tactic to tear apart the Black Ink clan's defensive perimeter and open multiple gaps in their lines. After tasting the benefits, the human race was obviously going to use the same tactic again. The Black Ink clan had taken precautions this time, however, contracting their defensive line quite a bit compared to last time. As a result, the defensive forces in all directions had become more solid and compact, making it impossible for the humans to easily break through again. The human race obviously understood this point as well. Over the past 2 years, a number of human scouts had been constantly appearing at the periphery of the no-return pass, spying on the no-return pass. As such, the Black Ink clan's deployment and arrangements were no secret to the humans. Since the human race was employing the universe world attack strategy once again, they must have something to rely on. Tchem. As the first universe world approached, Mo-Na quickly discovered that something was wrong. This was because he only saw one universe world shooting towards them. It wasn't like last time when many came flying over together, overwhelming the Black Ink clan forces in the area where they would strike. But what could one universe world do? Although seeing a universe world come shooting at them was extremely oppressive, a single pseudo-royal lord could easily destroy it with a single blow. After taking a closer look though, Mo-Na suddenly realized that there was indeed more than one universe world. In other words, he could only see one universe world, but there were definitely more universe worlds hidden behind the first one. If all the universe worlds were lined up, shooting towards the no-return pass one after another, it would be possible to create the illusion of there being just one. It's a single-point attack. Mo-Na immediately understood the human race's strategy. This time, they were clearly aiming at just one spot in the Black Ink clan's defensive line. The Black Ink clan's defenses were undoubtedly more condensed than last time, But if the humans focused all their attacks in just one place, even the strongest of defensive lines would be broken. Mo Na's heart was gripped with a chill as he secretly cursed the slyness of the human race. He quickly redeployed his troops and powerhouse from both sides of the defensive line to the center, preparing to face the incoming universe worlds. The battle was about to begin. The atmosphere was extremely tense. The flow of time seemed to have significantly slowed down. While countless Black Ink clansmen were waiting anxiously, the universe worlds flying over from the depths of the void finally arrived. Mo Na's arrangements had the desired effect. Thanks to deploying a large number of masters from the Black Ink clan to the location where the universe worlds were going to strike, the first universe world was blown to smithereens before it could even get close. Just as Mo Na had expected, a second universe world was revealed right after the first was destroyed. The second universe world was also destroyed by the endless secret techniques, followed by the third. Then, nothing. Mo Na was dumbfounded as he stared at the empty void littered with universe fragments, unable to understand how there were just 3 universe worlds. Why weren't there any more universe worlds shooting over now? The next moment, his expression drastically changed as his black blood turned cold and goosebumps rose all over his body. He suddenly turned his head towards the direction of the human race army on the left, just in time to see it smoothly change its formation as it sailed forward. The vast number of warships parted to the sides, revealing the void behind them which had previously been concealed by the massive fleet. Much to Mo Na's horror, numerous universe worlds were rapidly shooting over from that direction. He could already see at least a dozen of them, but there were obviously more, most of them hidden from his sight. It was hard to tell exactly how many universe worlds there were. Mo Na then turned to look at the human race army on the right, only to see a situation that was identical to the one on the left. He had fallen into a trap. Mo Na instantly understood what had happened. The human race had deliberately arranged a few universe worlds in a straight line to mislead him into deploying more troops to reinforce the center of their defense line. However, once he did this, he would fall into the human race's trap. The 3 universe worlds in the center were just a distraction, while the real killing blow was hidden behind the human race's left and right armies. At this moment, the human race's 2 armies had already closed to firing range of the no-return pass, and the universe world's assault was about to arrive. Even if Mo Na understood the human race's schemes at this moment, there was nothing he could do to stop them. All he could do now was issue orders at the fastest speed possible and send back the forces he had deployed from the left and right sides. Immediately, numerous powerhouses shuttled back and forth across the no-return pass, seemingly in complete chaos. Of course, the oncoming universe worlds didn't wait for the Black Ink clan to get back into position. Massive shockwaves swept through the left and right side of the no-return pass as the artifacts hummed and countless secret techniques burst out from the no-return pass, blowing many universe worlds to pieces. If the Black Ink clan had the same arrangements as 2 years ago, this kind of attack would have been enough to completely tear apart the defense perimeter on both their flanks. Once that happened, the human race army would have driven straight through the breach and caught them off guard. As long as they could gain an absolute advantage on any of the fronts, the human race would then be able to continuously expand their advantage. The last battle had gone exactly like this. However, the new deployment of the Black Ink clan's defenses had a certain effect. Even though Mo Na had made some mistakes in his initial response this time, at least he had some experience in dealing with the universe world attacks, so by the time all the universe worlds were destroyed, the Black Ink clan's defensive line was still holding. The Black Ink clan did not need much time to stabilize their defensive line back again, a cup of tea's worth of time at most. After that, they would still be impregnable. Nonetheless, how could the human race give the Black Ink clan such an opportunity? Time was a critical factor that affected victory and defeat in war, and clearly, the human race had calculated the timing of their every move from the very start. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for the left and right armies to make way for the universe worlds at just the right moment. While the Black Ink clan was still trying to reorganize their defense line, the human race's left and right armies had already arrived. In a flash, a fierce battle broke out. On the human race side, divisions were used as a unit, gathering large fleets of warships that shuttled through the void as one, bombarding huge swaths of the no-return pass. Lives fading away could be felt from all over the battlefield. The masters of both sides charged across the battlefield, killing each other with fierce determination. Xiong Shan still went looking for Mo Yu to continue their unfinished battle. Ouyang Yang Lai also clamored for Mo Na Yi to come out and die, but he didn't obtain any results. This time, Mo Na Yi didn't participate in the battle at all, instead just standing at the center of the no-return pass, observing the entirety of the battlefield. The Black Ink clan still had a large number of pseudo-royal lords, but in such a grand battlefield, having one more royal lord wouldn't change anything, so it didn't matter if he actively fought or not. By the looks of it, the Black Ink clan was at a disadvantage because they had suffered more casualties than the human race, but it wasn't a big problem. With the current strength of the Black Ink clan, they still had the ability to defend themselves. Mo Na Yi also believed that the human race didn't have any intention of taking down the no-return pass in this battle. Their strategic intentions were clear at a glance. They would continue to grind down the Black Ink clan's forces until they were confident they could wipe them out. However, Mo Na Yi still felt a little uneasy. He knew where this uneasiness came from. Yang Kai. The battle at the no-return pass had already started, so Yang Kai in the barren territory would certainly not be willing to be left out. Although Mo Na Yi had arranged for Diya Luo and a dozen pseudo-royal lords to restrain Yang Kai, no one could say for sure how effective they would be. Once Diya Luo and the others were unable to stop Yang Kai from entering the battlefield, the overall strength of the many pseudo-royal lords would instantly drop by at least 30% because each of them would have to reserve that much strength and focus to guard against Yang Kai's sneak attacks. Under such dire circumstances, that would be a huge blow to the Black Ink clan. As such, Mo Na Yi was prepared to personally stop Yang Kai, which was one of the reasons why he had not participated in the battle. While the flames of war had enveloped the entire no-return pass, Yang Kai was also palming his fists in the barren territory. Through the barren territory's territory gate, Yang Kai could vaguely see the various strategies employed by the human race and knew that this was definitely Mi Jinglun's handiwork. Because even he came to the same conclusion as Mo Na Yi when he saw just a single universe world shooting towards the no-return pass, that it wasn't just a single universe world, but a line of them aiming to break through the Black Ink clan's defensive line. But who could have ever known that the universe world's surprise attack from the center was just a decoy and the real killing blow was hidden behind the two armies? This method of deception was truly masterful. War, in the eyes of some people, was nothing more than a barbaric slaughter, but in the eyes of others, it was an intricate form of art. Yang Kai sighed with relief in his heart. The human race had Mi Jinglun, allowing them to reduce the number of losses they suffered in many previous battles. Thinking so, Yang Kai stepped towards the territory gate. It was time for him to act. Martial Peak. Martial Peak, Chapter 5890. Now it's my turn. Martial Peak. A dozen pseudo-royal lords with Diya Luo in the lead stood near the no-return pass territory gate leading to the barren territory. When they saw Yang Kai's blurry figure through the territory gate, they knew that this guy was not willing to be left out and was about to come through, looking for trouble. This was already within their expectations. The next moment, all the masters from the Black Ink clan started gathering their strength, preparing to attack. A ripple appeared in the territory gate as a head suddenly emerged from the opposite side, revealing the face much hated by all the Black Ink clansmen. Attack! Diya Luo shouted before taking the lead and launching secret techniques towards the territory gate. The next moment, the dozen pseudo-royal lords following suit right after. Yang Kai had obviously anticipated this scene, so he simply stretched out his head before immediately withdrawing it. If it was someone else, they really wouldn't be able to do such a thing. An ordinary cultivator, even if they were a ninth-order master, the moment he or she stepped into a territory gate, would immediately pass through it and arrive on the opposite side. Only those who were proficient in the Tao of space could voluntarily interrupt this process, allowing them to advance or retreat at will. As such, when the group of masters from the Black Ink clan had their attacks reach the territory gate, Yang Kai was nowhere to be seen. One after another, the attacks fell into the territory gate and traveled to the barren territory. However, The attacks had become weak after moving through the folded space of the territory gate, and Yang Kai was easily able to block them with a wave of his hand. Immediately after, he stuck his head out of the territory gate and smiled at the nearby Diya Luo, so fierce. The response he received was the same as before, more merciless attacks. Naturally, Yang Kai just quickly withdrew. Hence, such scenes repeated 7 or 8 times in a row in the next 10 breaths, making Diya Luo and the others feel both ridiculous and helpless, enraging them. The veins on Diya Luo's forehead were about to burst. Although he knew that the chances of failure were high when he accepted the mission to prevent Yang Kai from stepping into the no-return pass, as long as Yang Kai could withstand 1 round of attacks, it would not be that hard for him to force his way out of the territory gate with his strength, and the Black Ink clan would not be able to stop him. Worse, Yang Kai had the qualifications to do so. He was a divine dragon with thick skin and strong flesh, so an attack that was strong enough to severely injure or even kill an ordinary Ninth Order master would basically be unable to mortally wound him. At most, he would suffer some minor injuries. As long as Yang Kai broke into the no-return pass, the Black Ink clan would not be able to restrain him with their current means and strength. Diya Luo had to at least inflict enough injuries on Yang Kai before he could break into the no-return pass. If he could do that, he would barely be able to give an explanation to Mo Na Yi. As the defending party, it should not have been difficult to accomplish this. However, he never imagined that Yang Kai could actually come up with such a shameless plan. Every time he revealed his head, the masters from the Black Ink clan would attack him with all their might, because if they didn't do so, no one could guarantee that he wouldn't really leap out of the territory gate. Unfortunately, once they attacked, Yang Kai would just retreat to the barren territory and easily neutralize their attacks. Diya Luo was disgusted by Yang Kai's tactics. The Black Ink clan should have been the ones with the initiative in this kind of confrontation, but after Yang Kai started doing this, the Black Ink clan had basically turned into his puppets. If Yang Kai wanted them to attack, they would attack. If he wanted them to stop, they would stop. Damn it. Even so, I can't stop him, Diya Luo lamented in his heart. Although he and the other pseudo-royal lords could use this method to temporarily block Yang Kai, they couldn't use it indefinitely as they were exhausting their energy every time they launched an attack. In fact, they had used up a great deal of their strength in just a few rounds of attacks. Although it was a brief confrontation, it felt as if they had been engaging other human race masters for several days. They were both physically and mentally exhausted. Facing the killing star, Yang Kai, if they didn't have enough strength to protect themselves, they might be caught off guard once he saw an opening. With this thought in mind, Diya Luo raised his hand slightly and made a gesture, whereupon the dozen or so pseudo-royal lords immediately moved towards him. Soon, Yang Kai's head emerged from the territory gate again. There was no attack this time, so he wasn't in a hurry to withdraw and gazed at the nearby Diya Luo, grinning, not attacking again. Diya Luo remained silent, staring dead straight at Yang Kai and secretly circulating his strength. Since you're not planning on attacking, I'm coming, okay? Yang Kai said as he took a step out of the territory gate. I'm really coming over, Yang Kai stated again with a teasing look on his face, as if he was playing some kind of interesting game. Diya Luo still didn't take any action while the pseudo-royal lords too remained silent. Good. Yang Kai didn't waste any more time and walked out of the territory gate before taking a long, deep breath. Clearly, he was in the void and there was nothing he could smell, but he still wore an intoxicated look on his face, as if he had arrived at a wonderful place that he could only dream about. Attack. Diya Luo really couldn't bear it any longer. Knowing that it was the best chance to strike, he took the lead and charged straight towards Yang Kai with the dozen pseudo-royal lords in tow. The next moment, powerful secret techniques rained down on Yang Kai one after another, instantly engulfing his figure and tearing it to shreds. Be that as it may, no joy could be found on Diya Luo's face, because he could tell at a glance that it was just an afterimage. His powerful divine sense swept out like a tide as he kept emitting his aura, locking onto Yang Kai's erratic movements. While at it, he also led the dozen pseudo-royal lords to chase after their target. The pseudo-royal lord's auras had also locked onto Yang Kai's figure and were constantly shelling the nearby space in order to prevent him from suddenly using his space secret techniques to escape. Everything that was happening here did not escape from Mo Nae's eyes, but after observing for a while and confirming that Diya Luo had Yang Kai pinned down, he finally relaxed a little. In truth, he had no choice but to let Diya Luo be in charge of dealing with Yang Kai. If possible, he would rather personally deal with Yang Kai, but the Black Ink clan army needed someone to coordinate it, so it was really out of his hands. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Mo Na would not make a move, as it would just make him waste his strength. Although he had been a little worried about this matter, by the looks of it, Diya Luo was doing a pretty good job. Although there was nothing they could do to stop Yang Kai from stepping into the no-return pass, a momentary hiccup was nothing. As long as they could successfully restrain Yang Kai, tasking Diya Luo with this would be meaningful. After the last battle, Mo Na had a rough estimate of Yang Kai's true strength. He knew that a newly promoted royal lord like Diya Luo was definitely not his opponent, but with a dozen pseudo-royal lords supporting him, it was impossible for Yang Kai to escape from their blockade. In fact, if Yang Kai wasn't careful enough, he might even get seriously injured. After watching for a while longer, Yang Kai's situation became more and more difficult. He was unable to use his instantaneous movement, and as the no-return pass was Black Ink clan's home ground, he didn't just need to deal with Diya Luo and the dozen pseudo-royal lords. There were also many other pseudo-royal lords stationed near the high-rank Black Ink nests, charged with blocking the fallout from the battle to protect the Black Ink nests. Although they wouldn't participate in the pursuit, if Yang Kai passed by them, these pseudo-royal lords wouldn't mind attacking him once or twice. Yang Kai, who was getting attacked from every direction, had no choice but to flee like a rat. He was in such a tight spot that he had already summoned his space-time river and had it circling around him like a dragon. Many of the attacks landed on the river, causing it to rock and tremble. When this scene entered Diya Luo's eyes, he was a little bewildered. Logically speaking, Yang Kai shouldn't be so weak. He was even mentally prepared for a bitter battle, but after Yang Kai was surrounded by so many masters, all Yang Kai could do was take the beating. He rarely had the strength to fight back. Have his injuries not yet healed? Considering the severe wounds Yang Kai had suffered at the last moment in the battle 2 years ago, it was understandable if his injuries hadn't healed. In fact, Yang Kai's poor performance was not because of his injuries. After 2 years of recuperation, whether it was the damage to his physical body or the instability in his Dao strengths, he had already completely recovered. There were multiple reasons why this was happening. First, Yang Kai needed to conceal his true strength. Second, the number of small stone race soldiers he had taken into his small universe in the chaotic dead territory was simply too great, with them numbering more than 100 million. Even with his small universe's foundation, this many small stone race soldiers had become a burden. In other words, he was dealing with all these masters while carrying this burden. This made it hard for him to smoothly circulate his world force, which prevented him from displaying his full strength. Lastly, he was also making some arrangements, diverting some of his attention to deliver a great gift to the Black Ink clan, and at this moment, his preparations were almost complete. The next moment, Diya Luo was shocked, because Yang Kai, who had been fleeing all this time, suddenly switched his strategy. The space-time river that had been hovering around him suddenly swept out and covered a vast area of the void. Everyone within the range of the space-time river, including Yang Kai, Diya Luo, and the dozen or so pseudo-royal lords, became isolated. At the same time, Yang Kai changed directions and charged straight towards the Black Ink clan masters. "Be careful," a pseudo-royal lord shouted. As the distance between them rapidly shortened, Yang Kai stretched out his hands towards the Black Ink clan masters instead of taking out his azure dragon spear. The next moment, the marks on the back of his hands started glowing. Alarm bells immediately started ringing in Diya Luo's heart, faintly feeling that something extremely bad was about to happen. Although he had no idea what to expect, Yang Kai's abnormal actions were definitely part of some sinister plot. Without wasting any more time mulling over it, he simply shouted, "Attack!" He immediately charged at Yang Kai, leading the dozen pseudo-royal lords in a brutal, all-out assault. "You bastards have had your fun attacking me for so long, now, it's my turn." Yang Kai roared as suddenly, the space-time river which had enveloped a vast stretch of void suddenly disappeared without a trace. The next moment, a shocking scene appeared in front of all the Black Ink clansmen in the no-return pass. After the space-time river disappeared, an enormous number of stone man-like creatures appeared where the waters had originally been. Marshall Peak. Marshall Peak, Chapter 5891, Light will eventually expel darkness. Marshall Peak, the small stone race were all born with sharp and distinct edges. They appeared simple and stupid, as if they could not harm even a fly. Nonetheless, the moment they appeared, all the Black Ink clansmen at the no-return pass who saw this felt their scalps go numb. After fighting the human race for so many years, how could the Black Ink clan not recognize these strange creatures? The human race had used these creatures to fight against the Black Ink clan on many battlefields, and had often achieved good results. When these strange creatures appeared, one of the pseudo-royal lords immediately shouted, "Small stone race." His voice was trembling because he had never seen so many small stone race soldiers in one place. The size of the space-time river was extremely large, and using its cover, Yang Kai had summoned 2 million small stone race soldiers. Although Yang Kai had actually summoned an even larger number of small stone race in the past, the strength of this small stone race group was far beyond any he had ever brought out before. During his journey to the chaotic dead territory, Yang Kai had carefully selected each small stone race soldier, with even the weakest of them being equivalent to a third-order master. When 2 million such small stone race soldiers suddenly appeared, the momentum they released was so great that even a royal lord like Diya Luo was horrified. Worse yet, with the 2 glows on the back of Yang Kai's hands, Diya Luo immediately understood what was about to happen. His pupils instantly shrank as he screamed, "Retreat!" As soon as he finished speaking, he was the first to break through the encirclement and flee. However, how could he get away? The 2 million small stone race soldiers were deployed evenly by the space-time river, tightly blockading this part of the void. Furthermore, Yang Kai went a step further and froze the local space using his space principles. In a flash, every Black Ink clan powerhouse felt a great resistance around them, hindering their movements. Of course, this kind of resistance was not enough to immobilize them for long. If they had just 3 breaths of time, they would be able to escape from the small stone race army's encirclement. However, while 3 breaths was normally just a blink of the eye to such masters, in this instance, 3 breaths was an eternity which separated life and death, making it impossible to cross. "Light will eventually expel darkness," Yang Kai declared in a low voice, clenching his fists. As he did so, intense yellow and blue glows suddenly emerged from the bodies of the 2 million small stone race soldiers, filling the void in the blink of an eye. The yellow and blue lights converged and fused together, blooming into a dazzling white light. The pure white glow was not eye-catching at first, but in an instant, it started rapidly expanding like a great sun which had exploded. Time seemed to freeze inside the no-return pass, but a moment later, shrill cries broke the despairing silence. Shrouded in the white light, every Black Ink clansman, whether it was Diya Luo, the pseudo-royal lords, or even the lowly Black Ink serfs, were howling in pain. Even the distant Black Ink clansmen who were bathed in this white light were shrieking in horror. Purifying light had always been the greatest nemesis of Black Ink strength, and the Black Ink clan's power was basically entirely derived from Black Ink strength. When the Black Ink clansmen were exposed to the purifying light, the pain they felt was no different from an ordinary human's thrown into a boiling pot of oil. This kind of torture was simply unbearable. While the pure white light was blooming, Yang Kai didn't remain idle. His figure shuttled through the battlefield like he was walking in his backyard, appearing and disappearing like a ghost, and each time he flickered, a powerful aura would disappear. After 10 breaths, the pure white light finally faded away. At this moment, the originally chaotic battlefield had been cleared away. In the void, Yang Kai stood alone, holding a hideous head in his hand. The cut on the head was uneven. It didn't appear to have been made by a sharp weapon, but rather looked like it had been torn apart with his bare hands. Jet black blood was still gushing out from the neck. More importantly, the head was very much alive. It was grimacing in pain, and a trace of confusion could be seen in its eyes, as if it was still a little dazed about its current state. Regardless, this trace of life was destined to disappear soon. On the battlefield, several other mutilated corpses were lifelessly floating about, all of them belonging to powerful pseudo-royal lords. The surviving pseudo-royal lords looked completely terrified, their eyes filled with horror. The reason they were able to survive was not because they were stronger than their dead comrades, but because they were luckier. Yang Kai simply didn't have time to kill them. Originally, the entire no-return pass was filled with a massive amount of black ink strength, giving the impression as if it was shrouded in one enormous black ink cloud. But at this moment, in this environment in which every nook and corner was filled with black ink strength, there was now a spherical zone where the black ink strength was completely purified. On this battlefield, although Yang Kai was alone, he was like an army of thousands, putting enormous pressure on the entire Black Ink clan. Standing right across him was Daya Luo, his face filled with fear. Mo Na Yi, who was supposed to be commanding the Black Ink clan army, was also standing beside him, staring at Yang Kai with a solemn expression. "Are you all right?" While Mo Na Yi was asking this, his eyes remained completely fixed on Yang Kai. As soon as Yang Kai activated the great sun and moon marks on the backs of his hands, Mo Na Yi realized what was about to happen and immediately rushed over to help. Fortunately, he had reacted fast enough. Otherwise, it would not have ended well for Daya Luo. After the purifying light burst, Yang Kai casually took the lives of several pseudo-royal lords before directly attacking Daya Luo. Originally, he had planned to use this opportunity to eliminate a royal lord. Under the cover of the purifying light, Yang Kai was confident that he could accomplish it without anyone's notice. However, Mo Na Yi had come to interfere at the critical moment. This forced Yang Kai to fall back for the time being. It was still understandable to kill Daya Luo by borrowing the intense purifying light, but if he were to eliminate even Mo Na Yi, who had come to rescue the former, it would surely raise flags, which would cause the Black Ink giant spirit gods to become vigilant. As such, he could only kill 2 more pseudo-royal lords to vent his anger. Nonetheless, the current situation was still acceptable. Daya Luo had been enveloped by the purifying light, which had affected his strength. Furthermore, he was a newly promoted royal lord, so his foundation was probably unstable now. Unless the Black Ink clan used some kind of sacrificial secret technique to restore his strength, he wouldn't be much more useful than a pseudo-royal lord on the battlefield in the future. Half of the dozen pseudo-royal lords who had besieged Yang Kai had died, while the remaining half had their foundations severely damaged, causing their strength to plummet. Trading 2 million small stone race soldiers for the life of half a dozen pseudo-royal lords was an acceptable price. After staring at Mo Na Yi for a moment, Yang Kai coldly snorted before tossing the severed head away and taking a step forward, heading towards the no-return pass. Yang Kai's speed wasn't fast, but Mo Na Yi didn't seem to have any intention of stopping him. He did not even issue an order to stop him. He couldn't determine how many small stone race soldiers Yang Kai had left, and until he did, it would be unwise to continue provoking him. But the main reason was that the Black Ink clan no longer had the ability to restrain Yang Kai. Originally, they could still rely on Daya Luo, but now that the latter was injured, confronting Yang Kai would be tantamount to suicide. From the start, Mo Na Yi didn't want to have any kind of confrontation with Yang Kai, so, since he wanted to leave, all he could do was let him go. Thus, while the 2 armies were engaged in a fierce battle, Yang Kai leisurely made his way from the back of the Black Ink clan's defensive line to the battlefield without any hindrance. Immediately after, a scene appeared that sent all the Black Ink clan soldiers into despair. A portal to Yang Kai's small universe suddenly opened up as an endless small stone race army rushed out. This time, Yang Kai didn't use the great sun and moon marks to control their movements at all. Under the stimulation of Black Ink strength, the small stone race soldiers immediately charged towards the Black Ink clan army the moment they came out of Yang Kai's small universe, without any fear of death. Attacked by the small stone race army, the Black Ink clan's defense line, which was originally quite sturdy, immediately saw countless casualties. Not long after, Yang Kai strolled along the defensive line, which resulted in small stone race armies appearing on every front. They didn't cooperate with the human race, each and every small stone race soldier simply acting like a killing tool without any sentience, attacking anyone or anything with black ink strength. Inside the no-return pass, Mo-Na-Yi watched the entire debacle from a distance, gloom and despair gripping his heart. Under the current circumstances, it was just a matter of time until the human race conquered the no-return pass. Only death and destruction was waiting for the Black Ink clansmen here. Be that as it may, Mo-Na-Yi had never been one to sit back and just wait for death. Even if he couldn't defend the no-return pass, he had to try his best to weaken the human race army so that they wouldn't have the strength to continue their crusade to the primordial heavens source grand restriction. Mo-Na-Yi originally had some confidence that he could achieve this goal, but after witnessing such a huge small stone race army appear on the battlefield, this confidence was completely shattered. These small stone race soldiers basically blanketed the entire battlefield, and they could not be stopped. Their population size was several times greater than the humans, so using them as cover, the humans would definitely suffer fewer casualties. Under these circumstances, it would be extremely hard for the Black Ink clan to destroy or even critically damage the human race army. Mo-Na-Yi couldn't figure out where Yang Kai had obtained so many small stone race soldiers. In fact, Mo-Na-Yi had done some research on these strange beings known as the small stone race, so he knew about their characteristics. The only thing he didn't understand was their origins. From some Black Ink disciples, he came to learn that the small stone race was a special race brought out by Yang Kai. But where did Yang Kai get them from? Everything in the universe had a source. After suffering countless casualties over the thousands of years of war, the small stone race had gradually faded from the Black Ink clan's sight, so Mo-Na-Yi had never expected Yang Kai to bring so many small stone race soldiers to the battlefield before today, catching them off guard. It's Yang Kai again. Every single turning point in the war between the human race and the Black Ink clan is connected to him. Mo-Na-Yi couldn't help but feel a little regretful. Had he known that Yang Kai had such a card up his sleeve, he would have insisted on keeping him here even if he had to sacrifice more pseudo-royal lords. But when he gave it another thought, Mo-Na-Yi realized that nothing was going to change even if he somehow pinned Yang Kai down here. Sacrificing 2 million small stone race soldiers, Yang Kai had managed to kill a few pseudo-royal lords and injure Diya Luo. Even if they managed to pin him down, the Black Ink clan would have to mentally prepare themselves for even heavier losses. Marshall Peak. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,